Hello and welcome back everyone to this channel, and in this TensorFlow tutorial I will show you how you can convert a tensor to Numpy using the method Numpy on the TensorFlow object that you see here. So as you know, there are some of the Python library that doesn't work with the tensor data or tensor object. So in that case you will need to convert the data into a Numpy array or in a Numpy class so that you can work with other libraries. So libraries like matplotlib or scipy and other library that doesn't work with tensor data. So let's begin. So first I will show you how you can create a tensor and Numpy. So let's begin. So first create a tensor, import a TensorFlow as a TF, then create the tensor value. This is the variable, it will store the tensor data. So use a tf.constant function to create a tensor. So here I'm going to take an integer value like this. Now let's print the tensor value, execute this cell. As you can see here, this is the tensor data, tf.tensor, and its shape is 3 and element type is a integer. Now let's create an ND array. So import numpy as np, then create a variable numval which will store the numpy array. From numpy call t.array function and pass the list of values like this. And now let's print the type of this variable, and Python provide a type function that you can use to know the type of the any data. So here we will know the type of a numval variable that we have created. So let's execute this cell and see. As you can see, the type of this numval is a numpy.nd array. So what we will do here, we will convert this tensor value from a tensor to numpy.nd array. Let's create a new tensor. I'm going to create a new tensor, tensor data equal to, then tf.constant. Now pass the list of values. So in this case I'm going to provide 5, 8, and this is the nested list. Then one more list, 1, 4. And to convert this tensor data, so if you print this tensor data like this, you can see it is in a tensor format. So to convert this into a numpy, you need to call a function numpy on it. So for that, what we can do here, type print, then tensor data. This is tensor data that we want to convert into a numpy. Then specify dot, then call the function numpy like this. Now when you execute this line, it converts all the tensor data into a numpy ND array. And let's execute the cell. Now you can see here it is converted into a numpy. If you are not sure, let's remove this one and store in numpy something ND variable and tensor data dot numpy. So this line will convert tensor data into a numpy and store into a numpy ND. Now let's print the value of numpy ND and also its type. So here we will call type, then numpy ND like this, and execute this cell. So look, you can see the data is converted into a numpy ND array. So this is how you can call the numpy function on the tensor data to convert the tensor into a numpy. I hope that you understand how to convert a tensor into a numpy using this numpy function by calling this numpy function on tensor data. So at last I want to say, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel, and thank you.